Hey guys, welcome back to my channel on Python programming, and today we will be learning a new topic, that is functions in Python, and we will cover the following topics in this video. So we are going to see what are functions in Python, how to define a function, and what are default parameters, and then we will be seeing what are arguments and what are parameters in function, and finally we will be looking at how to define lambda function in Python. So let's get started quickly on Visual Studio Code. So in this video we will start with defining a function. So to define a function, we make use of def keyword, that is a keyword in Python, and then the function name, that is print body, and then the parenthesis. So if I want to define a function, so I need to use def, that is a keyword, then we should have a function name, and then the parentheses followed by a parenthesis which signifies that it is a function, and then our block of code. So we need to have an indent to define the block of code. So this is how we define a function in Python, and here I have defined a small function, that is def print body. So it will print this is body of our function. So if I run this program quickly, then you can see that this message has not been printed. So why did it happen? It happened because we have defined a function. So as we know that, or if you may have a language of knowledge of any previous programming language or any other programming language, then you may be knowing that if we define a function, then we need to call it as well. So to call this function, what I will do is I will just uncomment this line number 11, and this is how we call a function in Python. So if now I run this program again, then you can see this is body or function output has been printed. So for time being, please ignore this output because it is the code for the further topics, but as of now our main focus is on this function, and you can see that output has been printed on our screen, that is this is body of our function. So this is how we define a function. Now why do we require functions? So let's suppose you have a task which has to be performed n number of times. So instead of calling or writing the code n times, what we will do is we will just define a function, and then we will be passing the new parameters, or we can call that function again and again any number of times. So so that is the use of the function. So what we can say is, to remove redundant data, we use function to define a piece of code once and use it again and again later on. So this is what is the use of function. So why do we require function? That we have got the answer. Now let's move further. Let's move further to another topic, that is what is argument and what are parameters in function. So in this another function here on line number 18, what I have done is I have given a parameter or a variable. I have taken a variable inside this parenthesis. So this variable is called as the parameter to the function. So this is called as parameter. So we have got to know that what is a parameter. So it is a variable which is defined inside the parenthesis, or we can say a variable defined during the definition of a function is called as the parameter to a function. So and this parameter should be inside the parenthesis. Now what is an argument then? So argument is the variable which is passed to a function when it is called. So you can see on line number 22 and 23, what I have done is I have taken a variable custom message, and then I have passed it to a function print body 1 inside this parenthesis. So this is called as argument. So this is an argument, and here it is, here it is parameter. So this is the difference between the argument and the parameter. And we have also seen that how we can pass parameter to our function. So this is how we pass a parameter to a function or argument to a function, and this is how we can define a parameter in our function. So you can see the difference between the previous function, that is print body, and print body 1. In print body 1 we have a parameter defined. We can define n number of parameters using comma separated value, l like l comma n, but as of now we are not passing it. So this you can do, and then if you define 3 parameters, then you will have to give this function 3 parameters while arguments while calling it. So let me quickly run this code again, and now you can see that it is saying custom message input, enter your message. So I will say hey, sorry, so what I will say is hey, this is my message. So now you can see that when I enter this message, hey, this is my message, this message has been printed. So what actually has happened here is we defined a variable and then we passed it to the function print body 1 as an argument. This was passed to line number 18, and from there it went to the line number 19, and here is this custom message was printed. So this is how the parameters to a function are passed. So let me quickly comment this these 2 lines, because our purpose is done here. So we know how to define a function, what is the difference between argument and parameters, how we can define what you can say a function with a parameter. So we have seen 4 things. Now let's move to our another topic, and that is default parameter. So what does default parameter mean? So let's suppose I have a function and it takes 3 parameters, and what I want is that if the customer does not have any value or does not passes any value for one of its parameter, that is subject 3, so what I should do is I should assign it a value of 0. So in the real world, let's if I want to give an example, so let's suppose there is a subject which we had in our previous, or when I was in school, I had a subject called physical education, and that was an optional subject for us. So right now what we are doing is that that was an optional subject, and if so I'm taking that scenario, and let's suppose I have 2 subjects, subject 1 and subject 2. So what I will say is, if I have not taken subject 3, then I don't have the marks for it, and that is why I am saying that hey, if I don't have subject 3, then assign 0 to it. Sorry. Then when I call this function, then what I do is, so this is how we have default value passed to a parameter, and these are called as default parameter. And how we call this function? We call this function like this. We can call this function like this as on line number 32, and we can also pass this the same, or call this the same function like this using 2 parameters. So if I run this program now, then you can see that let me comment this line as well. So if I run this program now, so you can see that what has happened here is that first total was called, and at this time we have passed 3 parameters to total function, and it was assigned to sub 1, sub 2 and sub 3. So 10, 20 and 30 were passed to this, and then finally we calculated the total, and it went to, or it came out to be what you can say 60. So next time when we called total function with only 2 parameters, then at this time subject 1 was assigned value 10, subject 2 was assigned 20, and subject 3 was 0. So this time the total was 30. So this is how we pass default parameters to Python. So I hope it is clear, and you can have any number of default parameters in Python along with the normal parameters which we have, like subject 1 and subject 2. Now moving on further, let's discuss what are lambda function in Python. So let's suppose we have a function where we want to calculate the sum of two numbers. So as we know that writing the code like this, sub2 and then return sub1 plus sub2, this is one way in which we can create a sum function and then return the output whenever some function is called. But instead of doing this code, what I will do is I will write a much simpler or straightforward code, and that is I will define a function that is just any name. You can use any name here. So I will say function name, suppose this is my function name, and then what I will do is I will define a lambda function. So to define a lambda function, what is the format? We have to say lambda, then we can say the variables on which I want to do the operation. So I want to take three variables, suppose, which we have defined on line number 37, 38 and 39. And then what I want to return is I want to return their sum. So now what has happened here, we have just defined a lambda function and assigned it to function name. So if I say print type function name, so let's see what we get here. So you can see function is not defined on line number this. Okay, this should be changed. So we have done that. Lambda missing one required, that is sub3. Okay, here we have not given three parameters to it. And now you can see that when we printed what is the type of function name, so it is saying, hey, it's a object of class type function. So you can see that function name is an object which is of function type, and this lambda has returned us a function which is equivalent to the sum function, which we would have defined using def keyword. But here it has been much simpler for us to define the same thing. And now we have printed the type of this function name. And finally what we are doing is, instead of now we will call this function function name and then 10, 20, 30, and it will return the sum to us inside total sum, and finally we will print the total sum. So let me run this program and you can see the total sum is 60. Or to be more clear, let's say total sum is equals to dot format total sum. So now you can see total sum is 60. So this is all I have for you in this video. If you have any questions, please do comment on the video. Thank you.